I haven't had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what the problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
Lloyd Banks is finally breaking his silence, and he's not holding back. For years, he kept it cool, but now he's directly calling out all the lies, shade, and the twisted version of history that 50 Cent's been pushing for over a decade.
50 Cent takes some responsibility for Lloyd Banks for toting Ayo.
What responsibility? Like a parent?
You're the leader.
What responsibility am I taking for him? Like, tell me, explain to me.
That you didn't encourage them to be independent
Nah,
sooner.
that's not true.
Back when G-Unit hit the scene, they were unstoppable. 50 was the star, sure. But Banks? He brought the fire. His delivery, bars, and presence made G-Unit feel like a real movement. They came up like brothers, or so we thought. But once the fame kicked in, things started shifting. Suddenly, 50 was bashing Banks in interviews, calling him lazy, and acting like he didn't want success bad enough. Like, really? It didn't stop there. 50 even clowned him in his book.
The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time.
Made it sound like Banks gave up on himself and just faded away. But through it all, Banks stayed silent. No Twitter rants, no messy replies, nothing, until now. In a rare and raw interview, Banks finally opened up. And the way he told it, 50 wasn't even around during the darkest moments of his life. That whole lazy label, he says it's straight up false. And honestly, kind of disrespectful. Banks claims he was grinding this whole time, just not on 50's terms. He wasn't chasing clout, he was mastering his craft behind the scenes. But of course, 50 being who he is, didn't stay quiet either.
Well, Banks' temperament was definitely a little crazy. I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said to Banks directly. Another time I sat down with him, just when IG was starting to pop off, and tried to drop this gem on him. You gotta get on Instagram, I encouraged him. You can be a little awkward in person, so this is actually a better way for you to communicate with people. Nah, I don't want to do it, he said. Why not? You can literally put punchlines under your pictures, make some new fans. Nah, that's corny, he told me. When Banks made that comment to me, I realized he had gone as far as he can go. In fact, my exact thought was, this is someone I can't invest another minute or dollar in.
As soon as Banks aired things out, 50 fired right back with more shade. This time during a stop on his recent tour. In a behind-the-scenes Instagram video, 50 name-dropped both Banks and Young Buck and made it sound like their lack of success was a joke to him. Here's the real difference, though.
He's a very good lyricist. Among what are known as the punchline rappers who will end their bars with a funny or tongue-in-cheek line, Banks like to call himself the PLK, or Punchline King. I don't know if he's the king, but I'll give it to him that he's in the conversation. He is not, however, a great live performer, stylish dresser, or a domineering personality. So if he doesn't check those three boxes, how is he going to get bigger and become the star in real life he is in his head?
Banks doesn't do the internet games. He's not out here tossing shots for attention or acting petty in interviews. That's never been his style. But when he got asked directly about his relationship with 50, he finally let it all out. The silence, the disrespect, the so-called lazy image that's been haunting him for years.
I had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what the problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
No, he goes though.
But you don't go.
No, I don't see me there. We went to Atlantic City. We was in it was a showcase. They expect a show to happen tonight. Yeah, like, yeah, we will see you at the show tonight. And I go, oh, they expecting a show. Like, I was like, yo, call all of them, tell them to come here. When I asked Banks, like, when you go to perform your shows, you don't do this song? Like, this is the hardest record on your. And he's like, why? Cause you won? I looked at it and I was like, trying to understand where he was coming from. He hadn't been on my last record. He's like, I ain't been on your record, this and that. And I was like, so what? You don't have to be on none of my records. Like, me being on your records is the fate. I put you on a record with Eminem on my first album, fool. Don't nobody even know you. We were anticipating success, not as much success as we actually had. Mm-hmm. And it would have been sufficient if we had half the success.
And you could feel it. This wasn't about clout. It was personal. So what really tore G-Unit apart? Was it fame, ego, or just betrayal? One thing's clear. Banks is no longer letting 50 write the story for him. And now that he's talking, the truth is getting a lot harder to ignore. This wasn't just music drama. This was deep. Banks came out and said it plain. He wasn't being lazy. He was grieving. Around the time 50 was out here calling him unmotivated, Banks was dealing with the death of his father. Real life pain, not some excuse. But instead of getting any support from someone he once called a brother, Banks says he got dragged, publicly, and over again. Interviews, books, memes. 50 turned it into a whole campaign. Sure, 50 gave him a backhanded compliment, saying Banks is a decent lyricist. But right after that, he slammed him for not having the charisma or hustle to be a real star. That's cold. But according to Banks, 50 was never there during the hard times. Not when it really counted. No calls, no pull-ups, no check-ins, just distance and disrespect. And that stung way worse than any diss track ever could.
Banks was around 14 years old when Biggie and Pac were both popping. So that makes sense that they still resonate with him so deeply. I can relate. I still love the music from when I was that age too. The difference is I haven't patterned my career after KRS-One and Coogee Rap. What would be the point of that? They were both incredible in their moment. But I've always been concerned about creating my own moment rather than copying theirs. Years ago, I told Banks to film a video of his life and post it on YouTube. Introduce people to his lifestyle. Let the camera follow him around for a while and see how he moves. Maybe something he says or does will create a spark, go viral, and then he'll have some heat around him again. What I didn't want him to do was sit there writing punchline after punchline and then grow resentful when no one seemed to care about his mixtapes anymore. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Before adding Biggie and Pac didn't do that. They're dead, my man, I told him. They died before this stuff was even invented. And how do you know they wouldn't be posting on IG if they were alive? It was a line of thinking that really blew my mind. It suggested that if Tupac was alive, he'd still be wearing leather vests and red bandanas tied around his head, sending girls his beeper number. Or that Biggie would still be wearing Coogee sweaters and playing Mortal Kombat 2 every night. In Banks' case, a lot of his failure to grow as an artist is connected to his emotional composition. Banks grew up in the same neighborhood as me, but was never a part of it in the same way. I actually hustled with his father. Banks was more content staying on his porch and watching the world from there. There's nothing wrong with that, but it underscored a particular aspect of his personality. Banks wanted things to come to him, as opposed to going out and getting them for himself. That's not me trying to assassinate his character. The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time. The kind of person most comfortable being a big fish in a small pond. If Banks was hanging out in the studio with a bunch of unknown MCs, he'd be very confident. He'd enjoy being the center of attention. But if I suddenly showed up, he'd feel like he got demoted. He'd be bitter. He didn't feel like the center of attention anymore. I get it. I can take up a lot of the air in the room. The problem is that he'd never fight to get some of that oxygen back, which is exactly what a star is supposed to do. I believe a true star must possess 4 fundamental abilities: create great material, be a high-energy live performer, have a unique appearance, and possess a strong personality. Tupac had all 4. So does Mary J. Blige. Chris Brown, too. If I'm being honest in evaluating Banks, he possesses maybe one of those qualities.
Banks also shut down all that talk about him falling off. Since 2021, he's been putting in real work. 3 full albums under the course of the Inevitable series. No radio singles, no label hype, but all bars, all heart. Banks never left the mic, he just stopped playing the game the industry wanted him to play. That's the real issue. Banks never wanted to be the artist 50 tried to mold him into. He's not into flexing for cameras or chasing viral moments. No flashy antics, no gimmicks. He's built different, focused on the craft, not the fame. A true rapper's rapper. But that's exactly why 50 turned his back, because in his world, if you're not boosting the brand, you're dead weight. And Banks? He wasn't trying to play soldier anymore. Now here's some context. Banks, 50, and Tony Yayo all came up together out of South Jamaica, Queens. This wasn't no label-assembled group. They were neighborhood boys with big dreams trying to rise up through music.
But when we came to the actual room, we talked about, I think I irritated him earlier playing with the entourage. Yeah. With MO and them, like, cause I look.
Thanks, is that true?
I'd rather be robbed at gunpoint than be betrayed. Not that I suggest you try it. At least getting robbed is exciting. There's an undeniable rush when somebody pulls out their piece and growls, "Get on the fucking floor." Once it's over, provided you don't get shot, you can go tell your friends, "Yo, they just stuck me up." Your pockets might be lighter, but you'll be much stronger overall, having survived the experience. Getting betrayed is different. You don't get a great war story out of it. I've never heard anyone get hyped telling their friends, "Yo, you won't believe this, but I just got backstabbed by my mans." There are no stripes earned for that shit. When you open yourself up to someone, either financially or emotionally, and they go left on you, it's a different kind of pain, even more dramatic than a stick-up kid physically taking something from you. Like Malcolm X said, to me, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal. You see, I can conceive death, but I could not conceive betrayal.
When 50 blew up off Get Rich or Die Trying, he brought his people with him. And G-Unit? That wasn't just a crew, it was a movement, a brand, a lifestyle. And back then, Banks was the lyrical sniper of the squad. 50 had the hooks, the shine, the spotlight. But Banks had that cold-blooded delivery and razor-sharp wordplay. Fans respected him for it. Mixtapes like Money in the Bank and the Cold Corner series were street-certified classics. Back in 2004, Lloyd Banks dropped The Hunger for More, and it went platinum in less than a month. On Fire was tearing up the charts. Karma and I'm So Fly were in heavy rotation, classic Banks energy. At that moment, it felt like G-Unit was undeniable. 50 was owning the charts, Banks had solidified himself as a legit MC, Yayo was moving, and soon, Young Buck and Game came in heavy. They weren't just making music, they were everywhere. From albums to clothing, Reebok collabs, even video games, the brand was global. And Banks! He wasn't just tagging along, he was part of the foundation. His voice, his flow, and his street-heavy vibe helped define the G-Unit sound. Even 50 used to admit early on, Banks had some of the best pure rap skills in the whole squad. But here's the thing. Fame always shakes the room. And over time, things started crumbling. Buck got kicked out. Game flipped and went solo. The G-Unit machine, it slowed way down. And through all that, Banks started fading out of the spotlight. Now look, Banks was never the loudmouth. He was always the quiet one. But now, he was barely visible at all. The fallout wasn't explosive, it was silent. But fans could feel that something was off between him and 50. After that first wave of G-Unit dominance, the vibe shifted.
Because I find betrayal so painful, I put incredible thought and consideration into the people who surround me. As I detailed in this chapter, when I was first coming up, I made a mistake of confusing loyalty and location. It's a miscalculation a lot of people make. Wanting to believe that just because someone is from the same streets as you, that they're going to have your back forever. I learned the hard way that that's not the case. I think everyone's a little afraid of being too trustful, but I'm definitely worse than most. In my life, I feel like I've been betrayed by people I deserve better from, people I've given money to, opportunities to, love to, even life to. Because of that, for a long time, the only thing I had faith in was money. I only trusted the paper that says, "In God we trust." This is one of the reasons the theme of betrayal is so prominent in my show Power. It's an issue that's always on my mind, so much so that I even called the last season The Final Betrayal.
They stopped moving like a family and started acting like solo artists under the same logo. And 50 made it crystal clear. He believes the group is never coming back together. Too much damage, too much mess. What really stirred things up was Banks stepping away from the spotlight. He stopped doing interviews, didn't pull up to 50's events, and from the outside, it looked like he just checked out. But behind the scenes, it was deeper than that. 50 kept doing interviews, tossing slick shade at Banks and keeping that lazy label alive. He claimed he tried everything to help Banks blow up, but said Banks just didn't want it bad enough. According to him, Banks refused to evolve, didn't study the business side, and lacked the grind needed to last in the game. In one sit-down, 50 even said Banks had all the talent in the world, but no hustle. He also threw jabs at Banks for staying off social media.
You know, actually, your son wants to sit down with you.
No, he doesn't. See, Charlamagne, you would call me. You don't call TMZ to say you want to sit down. Think about it, man. You know, you want some attention. And it's okay. You can have as much of that as you want. You know, it's just like he's been trained to believe what you see him say in that interview, that what he was saying, he's been trained to believe that for a long time, bro. Like, you don't just wake up and say, oh, well, I don't believe what I've been believing forever.
But never be open to it?
No, I don't think the relationship works. Look, for a long time, Charlamagne, I've been running behind him. I went places that he went, and he left the place.
Like that made him out of touch or irrelevant. But that's just who Banks is. He's not into clout chasing or online drama. He moves in silence, cooks up in the studio, and minds his business. That quiet, real approach made a lot of fans respect him even more, but to 50, that low-profile lifestyle made Banks a liability. Then came Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, and 50 turned it up. In that book, he took direct shots, saying both Banks and Yayo were stuck in the past, refusing to evolve with the times. But he didn't stop there. He name-dropped Banks and called him out heavy, saying he got too comfortable, didn't want growth, and straight up wasted his potential. According to 50, Banks had the talent to be massive, but let it all slip through his fingers. That book marked the first time 50 really put public distance between him and Banks. And he didn't sugarcoat a thing. Banks didn't respond with a statement or tweet, but fans believe he spoke his truth through the track Stranger Things. And right there is where the real divide between them shows. To 50, not reaching superstar status equals failure. But for Banks, he's living exactly how he wants. To him, being super famous doesn't mean you've made it. Real success is being able to do what you love and take care of your family without having to play the fake Hollywood game.
Yo, if you don't do it, like if I don't give him something that he wanted, murder, then he's gonna go back to doing what we did. You remember saying that to me?
I don't remember.
You don't remember saying that? Yeah, tell him you be telling Vlad all kind of.
I don't want to get into all that.
My look better than Vlad. You think you tell me the thing? I know the my nice.
He don't even look like the same dude to me
nice
on
for them
Vlad.
stories.
Murder, this is real shit coming out.
Now here's something wild. Banks already admitted he's chill by nature. He even got a tattoo that says, Lazy Lloyd. So it's not like he's denying it. He's owned it in interviews too, even saying, 50 said that about me. And maybe it's true. But what people miss is that being laid back doesn't mean you're not working. It just means you're not loud about it. Banks just doesn't want all that extra drama that comes with fame. He wants to drop music and let the bars do the talking. But 50, he saw that as a lack of drive. And there's another layer to this whole situation. 50's made it crystal clear. Loyalty is his #1 rule. Step out of line and you're cut, no matter who you are. In his own words, he said he'd rather be held at gunpoint than be betrayed. That's how deep it goes for him. 50 explained that he'll go all in for his people, put his name, his money, even his life on the line. So when someone close turns their back, to him, that's worse than death. And this ain't just about Banks. Look at his own son, Marquise. 50 cut him off completely because he felt like he wasn't loyal enough. To 50, betrayal is the ultimate sin. And it don't matter if you're family, crew, or blood. Once he feels crossed, it's a wrap.
And Buck, I think that's over. I think that's done. But
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, like, his temperament, he won't actually get himself, like right now he's in jail, but knowing who he is from the entire time that he's been around, I don't think he has what it takes to recover from, you know, like it takes discipline at that point, because it's when people begin to want to give you resistance. Hip hop culture is out with the old and with the new.
So, if 50's willing to cut off his own son over loyalty issues, you already know. His friends never stood a real chance. Just look at Tony Yayo, one of the day ones, a true G-Unit original. For years, Yayo was 50's right-hand man, but even he didn't get a free pass. The second whispers of disloyalty popped up, real or not, 50 had no problem putting him on blast in public. Then there's young Buck, let's not forget. Buck was a huge part of G-Unit's early 2000s run. His energy and sound brought something different to the crew. But once 50 even sensed something shady, Buck got kicked out publicly, and it was messy. And who could forget the game? At one point, he was the hottest artist under the G-Unit umbrella. But once that bond cracked, the fallout was legendary. Shots fired on tracks, diss after diss. Game and 50's beef is still one of the wildest in hip-hop history. But the moment that sealed everything, that reunion photo, Lloyd Banks and the Game standing side by side. When 50 saw that, it was a wrap. That flick was the final nail in the coffin. 50 even reacted to it in a now-deleted post, writing, "What do you see when you look at this picture? I see confusion. I'm not sure if it's just me. I'm a Cancer. Don't get old with me. I never asked for trouble, but I really don't have a problem with it. I'm different. The question isn't how I feel about it, but how does Lloyd feel about it? Some stuff is just better off left alone." Man, that says everything. No matter how deep the history is, once 50 feels disrespected, he cuts the cord fast. No hesitation. If you're into stories like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your people. Let me know what you think. Was 50 fair or too ruthless with his crew? And I'll catch you on the next one.